What's going on, fantasy entertainer, the motivator, the educator, Lucky Murray, back with another Gamecock news update. Today, man, I'm going after a local radio personnel here in the Upstate that needs to put respect on Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks name. But before I go any further, man, here's what I need you to do. I need you to do one of three things. Like the video. Man, you guys have not known how liking this video helped this channel, man. It helps out a ton. 2, subscribe to the channel. Hey, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So every subscriber counts. And 3, share the video. It helps out a ton. So I was debating on doing this video, but I was like, man, I can't go sit by as a Carolina Gamecock fan and let this blasphemy being spoken on the university. Local upstate radio personality Marc Ryan, he is the host of Offsides with Marc Ryan. Is that the name of the show? Let me double check to make sure that's the name of the show. Offsides with Marc Ryan. Did an interview. I don't know who he did an interview with. It was a clip of an interview he did where he speaks about Shane Beamer and the expectations of Carolina, and do he think that South Carolina is in the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the SEC, and we can't never have any success about it. I'm gonna play a clip from there, and I'm gonna come back with my opinions.
Kirby Smart is chatting up Shane Beamer today during his time at SEC Media Days. What do you remember about Shane's tenure in Athens?
It was very nondescript.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Kirby and Shane obviously have a good relationship, and I think there's a lot going on at South Carolina, and Shane Beamer is kind of really laying out some big expectations from what I've heard. As a matter of fact, I think we've had some Clemson fans saying that he's writing checks that his players can't cash. So I'm sure that maybe Kirby was giving him some advice on how to keep in the expectations closer to the vest, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe that is in fact the case. Michael, a school like South Carolina, a school like Missouri, a school like Kentucky, one quote that we've had over the last month that just keeps resonating with me. I guess that's the mark of a good interview is, quotes from that interview, just you keep kind of kicking them around in your mind. Jamie Chadwell from Coastal Carolina said, you'd much rather be a recruit that goes to Coastal knowing now that you have a chance to go to the college football playoff than some of these mid to lower rung teams in major conferences that will never go to the college football playoff. Missouri, Michael, Kentucky. Let's ignore Vanderbilt for a minute where it's completely hopeless child. But South Carolina, do you think South Carolina is one of those teams that just, whatever disadvantage they have cannot be overcome?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think it's been proven in the past that South Carolina can field a competitive team. They can win or compete in the SEC East and make their way to an SEC championship game. They're kind of a step below Georgia in taking that next step in that, okay, now we've got to be able to win the SEC and show that we're ready for a playoff berth. And the same thing with Missouri. I mean, they won the SEC East for 2 straight years. So the ability is there. It's just getting the right coach, getting the right recruits, and putting it all together. It's tougher for schools like South Carolina and Missouri and others that don't have the history of winning consistently, but it's far from impossible.
Listen right now. I know you guys are like, what is this man talking about? So I'm going to break it down real quick. First, I want to read about Marc Ryan. I want to give you some perspective, if I may say so myself, of where this man is located, right? This man's frame of mind, okay? And then I'm going to give you my opinion of ESPN Upstate. I'm going to do it because I sat back for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, when they made all these changes at ESPN Upstate. So I want to read about this guy, right? Let's go to the handy dandy website, shall we? Offside is Marc Ryan, as you see right there. He's on Monday through Fridays for a 4-hour slot. So if you are a person who is super bored, you get to listen to Marc Ryan Offsides for 4 hours every day, Monday through Friday. Follow him, Marc Ryan on the air. That's his Twitter handle. I will have it in the description below. It says Marc hosts the Upstate's most interactive sports talk show every weekday from 3 to 7. Marc doesn't shy away from controversial topics and encourages listeners to respond and debate the issues honestly with him. In a short amount of time, Offsides with Marc Ryan has become the most talked about sports radio show in South Carolina. Those are lies. I call BS on that. I call cap, as the young people say. Let's keep going. Marc previously hosted a sports talk show in Houston at Intercom's Sports Radio 610 and served as a head of media at the Houston area high school. Okay, let's look at that. Radio 610. They may be an AM station, but let's keep going. And served as a head of media at a high school area high school. Okay? He was a high school head of media and worked in radio. Before that, Marc was the Tampa Bay Rays pre- and post-game host for WDAE and the afternoon drive host of Booger and Ryan at CBS Radio Tampa Bay with Booger McFarland, now on Monday Night Football. Shout out to Booger McFarland. He's a good commentator. There, he was named to the Talkers.com Heavy 100 list, honored the 100 most important sports host in the country. Marc remains convinced this is some sort of mistake. It is. It really is. Also, of Marc Ryan is your show. Get in the game every weekday from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on ESPN Upstate. So here's why I had to bring some context to that. Because Marc Ryan is not from South Carolina. Marc Ryan is from all these different parts of town. I remember giving him a shot. Listen to him when he first came here 2 years ago. He had a topic about, can South Carolina ever win back the state of South Carolina? Is this a South Carolina or Clemson school? He talks about pro wrestling. You know, those are his main topics that he talks about. Not saying main because he may call BS on that, but the ESPN Upstate frequently they have a 4-hour slot now to cover time. They have a lot of topics that don't make a whole lot of sense. A lot of topics they talk about is wrestling. They spend a lot of time talking about the storylines of wrestling. Don't have anything against wrestling. I don't. I'm a wrestling fan myself. Me and my son go to wrestling shows, independent wrestling shows. I was a very advocate fan of wrestling in my younger days, and I still watch it today. So I'm not talking about wrestling, but we want to speak about the world of sports. And he frequently criticized South Carolina and the fan base because he don't understand how the sports landscape of South Carolina works. And the reason why I'm so down on ESPN, don't get me started with Rob Brown. I don't listen to ESPN Upstate. I really don't. I really do, because of the simple fact that when you listen to it, it's god awful. My favorite my favorite show in the Upstate is Road Rage with Walt Deptula. If any of you guys ever listen to 105.5 The Roar, which is a Clemson homer station. It's a Clemson homer station. But I do listen to Road Rage when I'm in the car and my phone, you know, I would listen to something different. I tune into Walt Deptula. ESPN Upstate, I can't stand 5 minutes of it, and I turn it off. So let's get into the meat and the greet of his conversation. The first thing he talks about is he tries to talk to this coach. Again, I don't know who exactly he's talking to. So if you was listening to this segment, please write in the comment section below as far as what he was saying. But the first question he asked was, you know, about Shane Beamer's time at Georgia. And the guy was like, it's uneventful. And then Marc Ryan kind of chuckles. What does his time at Georgia, which he was an assistant, how was it supposed to be something that was supposed to be grand when his job was the assistant to not be seen. And he wasn't even like a not a top assistant, like an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or special teams guy. He was assisting. I believe it was the special teams. I may be wrong, but I believe it was the special teams. He was assisting with the special teams. If you're a guy of the guy, how are you supposed to have this grand old interest? And the fact of the matter is that a lot of people and a lot of reports says that Shane Beamer made the most impact as an assistant at South Carolina than he did at Georgia. But then if he didn't make such an impact, he wouldn't have went to Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley and subsequently would have became the head coach of South Carolina. And then the guy made another statement that said some of the Clemson fans are saying that Shane Beamer's writing checks that his players can't cash. First of all, why are you bringing in Clemson hearsay into a South Carolina discussion? We do not care what Clemson fans have to say concerning our football coach. Period. Guys, you guys have to see if you guys can win a playoff game. Let's put it out there right there. You guys probably will make the playoffs because the ACC right now is Cupcake City. Y'all do not have a true challenger other than Georgia, which is an SEC foe. After that game, you guys should win every other game, even against South Carolina. I'm a South Carolina fan. I say you guys should beat us, but you do have big questions at the quarterback, in the quarterback room. So instead of worrying about South Carolina over here, worry about what you got over there. So bringing that argument in it didn't matter, And then he spoke about Caldwell down in Coastal Carolina, said that players are excited about coming to Coastal Carolina because they have a shot of going to the playoffs versus going to a mid to lower level bigger school that may not never have an opportunity to go to the playoffs. I'm summarizing here, people. And then Marc Ryan was like, is South Carolina in the same breath as Vanderbilt, Missouri, other schools like that, the bottom feeders of the SEC? So the guy said no because it was proven success, blah, 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 blah. Y'all heard the audio clip. We already know that South Carolina can compete and can compete well. South Carolina, we put money into our facilities so that we can compete at a high level. I think the difference between Clemson and the difference between South Carolina, we, at the beginning of the 2010s, were a better program than Clemson. We kind of fell off. Clemson is on this high. And they're going to continue to be on a high for a few more years. But I'm telling you this right now, and a lot of Gamecock fans believe the sentiment I'm about to say, but Carolina, we coming. We coming. And Marc Ryan, before you speak about South Carolina, first, learn a little history about this. You came from Houston. And it's evident that you don't know the history of the state, the history of the program, the history of the rivalry, just South Carolina culture by your sports talk show. If a big chunk of your segments is topical questions that don't really matter about sports, and your takes are so far off, like ESPN Upstate wants to be Walt, Deptula, Road Rage so bad. I believe Walt, Deptula is probably one of the best shows, local shows around here. It should be a national syndicated show. Walt Deptula knows what he's talking about. Okay? He's not far off with his judgment. I like Walt Deptula. Marc Ryan, I don't know what this guy talk about. Rob Brown, I don't know what this guy talk about. ESPN only has 2 local shows. The rest of their lineup is national syndicated shows that if you want to, you can go to the ESPN, the TuneIn app, hit ESPN Upstate, ESPN, the radio station, ESPN, and listen to the same content. And when they're on from 12 to 7 or whatever, you can listen to something else other than these 2 guys that is pretty much irrelevant when it comes to radio shows in South Carolina. Yeah, it's a fan base, but it's a very small fan base. So here's my thing, man. Yes, I will, if Marc Ryan does not bother or mind hitting controversial topics, and want somebody to come at him honestly, I'm coming in honestly. Don't think his show is that great. Not because I'm a hater, but because of the content of the show. I listen to sports radio. I speak sports radio. It ain't it, Chief. So here's what I need you to do, guys. I know it's a long video, but thank you for bearing with me, man, because this guy does not know what he's talking about half the time. If you listen to the show, you could probably listen to the show today, right now, on ESPN Upstate, and you could be like, I don't know, Luck. I don't know. But go to 105.5 The Roar and listen to Road Rage. And you can tell that Marc Ryan's trying to be Walt Deptula. And guys, I'm not lying. You know what I'm saying? So let me know what you think about this in the comment section below, man. I had to come at a local radio sports show host who was previously a high school head of media and was on an AM station. Comes to South Carolina to speak sports and don't have no clue about the state of South Carolina and their sports. But let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Again, it's the entertainer, motivator, educator, Lucky Murray, back with another Gamecock news update. It's not really Gamecock. Yes, it is Gamecock news update. Marc Ryan, talking to you, bro. Listen, step up your game when it comes to talk about South Carolina. Know what you're talking about, man, because us fans are not going to sit here and take the disrespect on Shane Beamer's name. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And like always, until next time, people.